Hey guys, Sandro here from Carcraft Auto Detailing in Melbourne. Today's video is an instructional on how to prepare your car's paint for correction in the way of compounding, polishing and or protecting the finish with a wax sealant or coating. I have gone through this process in quite a few past videos as the beginning stage of detailing a vehicle, particularly on my video series episodes. But I haven't done this as a standalone video, and I also wanted to make a more versatile video for those of you who don't have pressure washers, foam lancers or a huge array of car detergents and chemicals, and perhaps need to work outdoors without adequate cover or shade. Now this process can vary a little depending on the equipment and products you have, which I have also demonstrated in past videos as well. But the general method of washing the paint or car with a detergent, followed by chemical treatment with iron and tar removal products, and then a mechanical decontamination using clay is the main goal. And although it's ideal to work indoors or in a sheltered environment, I know that's not always an option for everyone, and I want to demonstrate that you can still get it done safely and effectively by just tweaking your methods. So just to touch on briefly why this is such a vital step before polishing and or protection is that it comes down to ensuring the paint is completely clean and bare so that you can effectively and far more productively proceed to correcting the paint's defects in the way of swirls, scratches, water spots and so on without all that bonded environmental fallout that will limit the results you can achieve, slow down the polishing stage and even reintroduce scratches back onto the paint. And when it comes to adding protection to the paint in the way of a wax sealant or coating, any of these particles, such as tar, iron fallout and road grime, won't allow the protection to bond effectively to the paint, so it just won't last very long. And even more so, these environmental contaminations that are bonded to your paint will immediately begin breaking down the paint protection and diminishing its protective ability. So I'll just reinstate that the most important factor to ensure you achieve great results and a long-lasting finish is without a doubt preparation. And it doesn't matter if you have the greatest polish and wax in the world, as without the proper preparation of the paint, it won't mean a thing. I'll also let you know that I picked up this panel from a car wreckers recently, and by the looks of it, it's been sitting outside for years, is extremely filthy and rough, and should make for a great test subject. As if I can get this paint clean and bare, your car paint should be far easier and in much better condition. I'll also let you know that I'm not working in the shade, which as I said before is ideal and does make your life easier. But if you do this process while the sun is out, just be sure to do it first thing in the morning or late in the evening as I'm doing it here, as the sun is far less powerful so you can work with it without it causing too many issues. So step 1 is the wash. The first thing you want to do is remove as much of the loose dirt as possible by rinsing down the paint. If you have a pressure washer, it'll be more effective, but if you don't, just use the strongest water beam you have on your hose to blast off the loose dirt. This will also cool the paint and panels to make life easier. Next, you could then pre-soak the paint with a snow foam lance to further loosen the grime, but once again, if you don't have a pressure washer or foam lance, you can use one of these hose attached foam bottles or even a pump action pressure bottle to apply some foamed up detergent. Allow it to dwell for a few minutes, then hose it down again, and just respond to your environment. So if it's hot and sunny, give it less time than if it's cool or shady. Apart from removing the looser dirt, this stage will also begin to soften the more stubborn grime, allowing the next stage of hand washing to be both more effective and safer. Now, as far as the car detergent you use, you want to ensure that you're not using a car wash product with a wax or sealant in it, as this will leave unwanted protection on the paint after washing the car, which for this process we want to absolutely avoid. So be sure to use a car soap with no wash and wax, conditioners or protection on the label. In my past videos, you'll see that I sometimes use stronger detergents and cleaners for this stage as well, but just a simple car wash product with no additional waxes or polymers should also be fine. Now, apart from giving the paint a really thorough wash, you want to also ensure that you're not scratching it in the process. So your traditional 2-bucket wash method, which I've also covered in past videos, will greatly help to provide a safer washing result. Personally, I like to use a spray bottle with a 1:9 dilution of my car wash detergent and then rinse the mitt with my hose. But generally, these safer washing methods are all about ensuring that the dirt you lift off the paint is removed off your wash mitt before you use it to wash the next panel, which will reduce the potential of scratching the paint. And once again, just adapt to your environment. So if the heat and sun is drying your detergent quickly, just hose off the paint more frequently to prevent streaking and keep the paint cool. The next step is iron removal. These particles won't simply just wash off the paint, and do require an iron removal chemical such as Iron X to dissolve them. Now, you'll find that many wheel cleaners that turn that purple colour when you spray them onto the rims can also be used on your paint to treat iron fallout, but be sure to read the label of the particular product you're using. You don't want to spray it while the paint is completely wet, but a little remaining water is fine and will also extend the dwelling time the product needs to work. Be sure to apply a nice even coat to the paint and then use a cloth to spread it in further to ensure you have complete coverage. And another further quick mist of the iron remover will further prevent it drying up while it works, especially on hot dry days. But after giving it about 5 minutes or so to turn purple while it dissolves the metal particles, rinse it off with a really good thorough blast of the water. You could also give the paint another quick foam or hand wash if it proves to be difficult to remove, and a pressure washer will again help in this stage, though you can get by without it. Next is tar removal. I'm using Tar X, but these days there are plenty of bug, tar and adhesive removal chemicals out there which more or less do the same thing. Now overall, tar removal chemicals are stronger than iron removal ones, even though the iron removers smell much worse. But they're able to remove many traffic and road grime contaminants that iron removals can't treat. The process is much the same, but overall the lower panels of the car is where you're going to find these tar deposits rather than the upper panels that usually have more of the iron deposits. The only areas you want to avoid with tar removal chemicals are clear plastics, such as head and tail lights. But apart from that, as long as the paint is relatively cool and you don't allow it to dry, you should be fine, just like the previous iron removal stage. So with the chemical treatment out of the way, it's time for the mechanical or clay bar decontamination process. Even with chemically treating or cleaning the paint, there's still going to be some stubborn particles bonded to it. These will require automotive clay in order to remove them. But the reason we use chemicals first is that they don't abrade the paint, and they will greatly reduce the marring by removing a lot of the bonded particles before you clay. And it also greatly speeds up this clay mechanical paint cleaning process. My advice with clay is to stay away from the cheap no-name or fake brands usually sold on eBay. But apart from that, almost any reputable and genuine auto detailing brand should be fine. Clay is by nature very grippy, so it does need lubrication in order to reduce that amount of marring it creates on the paint. And you'll find that softer Japanese paints will be more effective by this marring as opposed to harder German paints. But just like using car wash products with no wax or polymers to wash the paint, I recommend not using clay lubricants with polymers to clay the paint. One of the best and cheapest methods is to just use your wax and polymer free car wash soap as a clay lubricant, which works great whether you use the 2-bucket method or the spray bottle method. Another is to use a product such as Imolube that uses surfactants rather than polymers to achieve its fantastic lubrication. Water is also an option, but in my experience, even when the clay says it can be used with just water, water doesn't provide the same level of safe clay barring that soap and detergents can. The key to correctly claying the paint is to both feel the paint as you're claying to ensure it feels smooth, and to keep an eye on the clay and ensure you constantly fold it over as it picks up the bonded grime. Now, there is some debate over whether you should use straight motions rather than circular ones, but my personal preference for almost any application of any product by hand on car paint is to use straight vertical and horizontal overlapping lines, as they in my experience give you great even coverage whilst being less aggressive in general. Also, for best results, work a small section at a time with just slight pressure and rinse off the paint as you go to keep it further cool and remove the detergent. If you're working indoors, you can also just use a microfiber towel to mop up the panel as you go. After claying, dry the paint with a microfiber towel or blow it with compressed air if you have that available to you. The last step, and quite an important one, is to do a final alcohol-based wipe down of the paint. This is what's known as an IPA wipe down, using an isopropyl rubbing alcohol dilution of about 1 part to 4 parts water with 100% strength concentration. I personally tend to use CarPro Eraser for the fact that it costs about the same as a dilution of isopropyl alcohol, which isn't cheap here in Australia. But it seems to be a little more effective in that it provides better lubrication and cleaning abilities but doesn't evaporate so quickly. But the general idea of this final wipe down is to ensure that all the prior detergents and chemicals have been completely removed with a self-evaporating alcohol-based cleaner that doesn't leave any residue behind that could cause issues when you're correcting and/or protecting the paint. So the paint is now correctly prepared to start the correction stage of compounding and/or polishing, as well as protecting the finish with a wax, sealant or coating. I hope this video helps demonstrate how to decontaminate your car paint and why it's such an important step to do correctly, but also gives you a few options to address the environment and tools you have to work with, as the ideal way of doing things and the real world you're faced with aren't always the same thing. As always, please like, comment and subscribe to show your support for this channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.